Hello, people of YouTube and whoever the hell else is watching this. This is Phoenix Akule. Sorry it took me so long to make my next video. I've been up with my brother in the mountains trying to help them get moved. There's no freaking internet or service up there whatsoever. I hated every second of it. Yeah, but I'm not gonna ramble too much. I'm just gonna tell this story. It's called My Alone Time with Twilight Sparkle. I'm not gonna ramble too much, so let's get this started. Her purple coat and pink striped hair was eccentrically beautiful, as it flowed in the wind. I have been spending time with this mare for a little over 3 months, and she's starting to get okay with me, despite the fact the first few weeks there's nothing but 20 questions, like where'd you come from, how are you in Alicorn and stuff. I eventually got tired of it and started beating my head against the wall because I am not good at 20 questions. Tried to tell her that, but technically she just kept on going. I just tried to answer them to the best of my abilities. So, as we going on and on this, she started to give me more awkward looks. And it's like she was trying to tell me something, but I wasn't yet catching on. Until that one fateful day in the field of roses. We were just sitting there picnicking or whatever the hell else we could do in a garden. So, yeah, as we just sat there side by side doing our own thing, I felt her tail whip around my back. I just rolled my eyes over to her, giving her an awkward look. She looked back at me and said, "What?" I'm like, "You tell?" She's like, "Oh, sorry." Yes, basically, she started to think to herself, "I wonder." And then I told her, "Twilight, you realize I can hear your thoughts, right?" Just then, she turns redder than red can get. Like I'm talking about as red as a bright red sports car. So, yeah, that had that kind of red. And yes, I would be okay with doing that. And she turned, and the sheer mention of that, she turns even redder and just starts flicking her tail back and forth as her ears folded back. She's somewhat nervous. Like, what's wrong, Twilight? You're the one thinking of it. As I look back at her, yeah, Twilight, but I'd rather hear you say it. She gives me a nervous look like she don't want to speak. Then I look back at her and say, I'll get it out of you, as I use my magic to start lightly rubbing her wings. She just leans into me, cooing sweetly at the sheer amazing feeling of the massage. She leaned in. I gave her horn a swift lick, and she moaned contentedly as I nibbled her ear. And then she came out with it. She said, I want you to rut me. And like, there we go. That's what I'm looking for. After that word, I pinned her down. It started kissing up and down her neck. As I got lower and lower, she started getting more and more vocal. As I crossed over her chest, rolling circles around it with my hoof, and getting lower and lower, and eventually, letting a hoof fall to to her rump, around her cutie mark, start rubbing contently. She didn't seem to want me to stop. In fact, she was enjoying it. So I started to think, man, I want to take this moment to go a little further here. As my rump hoof was slowly inching its way to her inner thigh. But when it finally made it there, She made a long, content moan, and her eyes rolled back up, and her tongue lolled out. But she didn't seem to want me to stop. As I started rubbing her mare hood lovingly up and down, her getting more and more vocal each time it made its up and down stroke. Then I removed my hoof, licked the fluids off. I looked down at her and said, "You taste nice." She just blushes redly and giggles. And I just climb on top of her as I line my shaft up. She said, basically, right before I can get ready to line it up, she pulls me down, doing the hard part for me. As it drives in violently, as she squeals uncontentedly and moans a sigh of blissful relief as I slowly start running her in the field, as she starts getting more and more vocal about it as it inches further and further towards the climax. And Twilight, I just looked at her and said, "Twilight, you gonna squeal any louder?" She just giggled. And as I start running even harder, she just moans, coos, and squeaks, and all kinds of cute, lovely sounds as she rolls around, just to try to get me closer. See, as we both got closer and closer to our intended mark, or right before the edge of no return, or what they call Cloud 9, I think that's what they call it. But as we inched closer and closer to all that crap, she looks up at me and says, "I'm close." I'm like, that's nice to hear. As I drove it in even deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper until it hilted in her, and her eyes rolled up as her whole body shook in a primal urge of bliss as she exploded in a foray of cum, and I don't know what other word to add to this. But after she was done, basically, I hear that basically my climax was soon to follow, as I hilted inside her and blasted my seed deep within her, marking her for eternity. Well, I think that's how it works. All I know is there was cream filling the flower garden now. So, yeah, it's cream filled roses. Roses and cream. I make myself laugh. Yeah, but that's the end of that one. I gotta get out of here, bro. I laughed myself to death. Phoenix out.